Within the last hour, TMT just announced that there will be no construction on Mauna Kea this year, and work on the telescope may not start until next summer. Samuel Wilder King II joins us now. He is a supporter of the project and the executive director of IMUA TMT. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us today. You know, it's been 1 year since we saw the opponents chaining themselves to the cattle guard, stopping the construction on the Mauna. I wanted to ask you, in hearing that there will be no construction, according to TMT, for at least another year, what your reaction is to that.
I mean, I think it was kind of expected. I mean, we actually talked to TMT not that long ago, and they were giving us a heads up that was going to happen. I mean, it's a global pandemic, so it's hard to mobilize. I get it. I mean, it's unfortunate that the protesters have stopped this project and caused that to happen, right? I mean, this is a multi-billion-dollar project. I mean, if it was going on right now, we'd have people working, we'd have jobs, right? They would have mobilized, they would have been here, and we really would have had people working instead of people waiting on the sidelines during this pandemic. Nobody saw that coming, but that's the risk when you prevent projects that have gone through this incredible vetting process, right? They had 2 contested case hearings, 2 Supreme Court decisions. The second one had 71 witnesses. It went on for 3 months, right? We've vetted this thing so much, and then to stop it, and then you have this COVID happen and the project gets delayed. I mean, it went up $1 billion, right? And that billion, it's not just some random number. I mean, at some point, the value comes to Hawaii. So that's excellent in the sense, but it's also a problem in the sense that that could have gone to COVID relief, right? That $1 billion. And the protesters don't care. I mean, they're very selfish in that way. It's unfortunate.
You know, as a supporter of this project, you mentioned the pandemic. The pandemic obviously affecting the project, but do you think that it also stopped the momentum of the opponents?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I know that COVID-19 has changed everything for us here in Hawaii. I mean, we have a $1.5 billion hole in our state budget now. I mean, that comes from taxes. It comes from things like TMT, which is going to pay $1 million in rent, right? Unlike the other telescopes that are paying $1, it's going to pay $1 million rent. That's in addition to the $1 million in scholarships for kids, $1 million in workforce training. Never mind that. It's also paying $1 million in rent, $800,000 to the Office of Mauna Kea Management, which is a lot of money that the Office of Mauna Kea Management is not going to get because there's no more tax money because tourism is shut down. $200,000 going to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, also not going to happen, fewer Native Hawaiian programs. So it's really, really sad that we're not having this project right now. But I know that COVID-19 has changed everything. It's exposed how vulnerable, and we all knew this, but how vulnerable we are to just having tourism as our major industry. And instead, we could have astronomy as one of our major industries. I mean, it's a huge, when we're talking billion-dollar projects, right? I mean, this is something that you can build a tech ecosystem around. We constantly are talking about these high-tech jobs, and we want these high professional positions. That's this project. That's it, right? These kinds of projects on the Big Island, that's what creates that ecosystem.
I guess my last question for you, Sam, is, you know, we talk about the increased cost because of this delay, not only because of the opponents, but also because of the pandemic, an increase of $1 billion to this project. Why not just move it to somewhere like the Canary Islands where they don't have this kind of vehement opposition?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. I think we actually talked about this before. I don't want it to move. Why would we want it to move, right? I mean, it's $40 million investment into Hawaii once it's operational, right? 140 jobs. And the costs are not necessarily higher on Canary Islands, right? A lot of it's inflation, it's delay, and there's also opposition in the Canary Islands. I mean, the point is that Mauna Kea is a place that can unite culture and science, right? It is awesome for that ability to say that culture and science can coexist. I mean, astronomy on Mauna Kea is my culture. My wife actually took me up to the telescopes for my birthday before I went to law school because it was something that I always thought was so awesome before all of this started. I was just like, that is so cool that we had these telescopes there. And there's so many people on the Big Island that, you know, I'm talking to all the time, obviously, but it's that are all over the state that just love the idea of having this world-class astronomy on Mauna Kea in Hawaii where our kids can go and learn about this and work on it. I mean, like Paul Coleman, one of the first Native Hawaiian astronomers, had this dream that all the astronomers up there would be Native Hawaiian. It's like, or from Hawaii too. It's like that is an awesome dream. That's a dream. But just having a theocratic, land use system where somebody claims something is sacred, which, I mean, we also know it's not sacred, right? I mean, with Native Hawaiians, we overthrew the kapu system 201 years ago. And so people can keep their personal cultural beliefs, and we respect that, which is great. Everybody will be able to practice those. But to say that we're going to go back to that system, as opposed to having Paul Coleman's dream of Native Hawaiians, in advanced astronomy, we have so many people on our Imua TMT panels, right? You can go to your YouTube page and you can look at all the panel discussions, see these young astronomers that just dream of coming home and working on these projects. That's an awesome dream. That's something that I want everybody in Hawaii to have.
All right, Sam King, for the Executive Director of Imua TMT, thank you so much for joining us today on Sunrise.
Mahalo.
All right, 8:17, and just as a note, we did speak with an opponent earlier this hour, as well as a TMT executive, and we'll post this all on our website. We'll be right back.